This video is an addendum to my previous video exploring my vintage indoor incandescent Christmas light setup. In this video, I'm going to show the other light sets I bought, as well as notable bulbs that I got with that set, and a couple of changes that I've made to the setup so far. I'm going to start with up here. I have taken down the Noma Heritage glass globe fixture and swapped it out with this string, which is this. It is a 1960s vintage General Electric Christmas multiple 15 light set, made entirely in the United States by General Electric. I got this on shopgoodwill.com. I paid, I think after shipping, it was like 15 bucks or something for this. It was listed as, quote, probably never used. It's clearly been used. A couple of the original bulbs are even missing. But still, what a great deal. The box is in pretty good shape. It's got some water damage on it. Some very old water damage by the looks of it, but that's all right. The string itself is fine, and the bulbs it did come with, they're all fine too. I'm going to start by taking a look at the box here. So right there you can see all the General Electric bulbs. These are actual ceramic coated bulbs, which are just a treat to have, 13 of them. So that's awesome. And let's see here. So this originally cost $2.29, which is this much in 2019 dollars, if we assume 1965 as the manufacture date. It was sold by Wells, whatever that is, UL listed. Design features: bulb screw into socket snugly, no washers needed. I've never heard of a Christmas light set needing washers. Strong slim socket, 20% lighter. Spring steel clip grips tight, stays springy. All green, single cord and socket blend with tree. So you can see this set does have the modern style cord rather than the twisted cord that the earlier mid-century and earlier sets have. And that was a point of, that was something worth advertising when this set was made. And it advertises, when one lamp eventually burns out, others remain lighted. Because, of course, these sets are wired in parallel. The reason this is a notable point on this box is because some of the earliest Christmas light sets, before C7 and C9 sets became common, they were actually low-voltage bulbs strung in series. A common type of electric Christmas light before World War II were C6 lights, so slightly smaller than a C7. But they were low voltage bulbs, usually 15 volts each, and you'd have 7 or 8 of them wired in series in a set. But the problem with the old C6 bulbs is it was before they invented that shunt, that automatic shunt that goes into place when the bulb burns out. So when a C6 bulb burns out, the entire set goes out, and you have to take your replacement bulb and test every single light until you find the one that's burned out. So when these parallel sets using 120 volt bulbs came along, that was a point of advertisement. It's too bad. In all the spare bulbs I got, I had one C6 bulb, and sadly I had no idea it was a low voltage bulb. I hooked it up to 120 volts, blew immediately, obviously, and that was it. I tossed it. As cool as it would be to have a C6 set, I don't think I'd ever go out of my way to procure one unless it was, like in a thrift store or something, because new C6 bulbs don't exist anymore. You can find, they used, I think, an E10 screw base, which is a common screw base for miniature low voltage incandescent bulbs. So you can find bulbs that will fit and work and are the right voltage or close enough for a C6 set, but the particular C6 Christmas lights, you can't, nobody makes them anymore. So you can buy new old stock replacement bulbs on eBay, but sometimes you'll pay a pretty penny for them. So C6 sets are cool, but they'd be very hard to keep running if you have any plan of using them regularly. Catalog number was L7-15. GE also sold a 10 light version of this. I don't think at this time they sold a 7 light version. It was the 10 and the 15 for the C7 sets. Rugged, longer lasting, better looking, decorating is made easier. The big GE logo there. A lot of stuff. Well, actually, first I'll get on this side. Take a look at this. Look at these 60s cartoon graphics. So cool. Practically invisible on green tree. Wire, sockets, clips, and connectors all are green. No mess of wires to untangle. Both wires in a single cord. No washers needed. Bulbs fit snugly in new compact sockets. And he's like, no, stupid woman, do not give me donuts. Improved clips always grip tight on both big branches and small. Sockets practically unbreakable even when accidentally stepped on. I don't know if it's got a bulb in it like shown there. Almost certainly the bulb would break under your weight, but anyhow. Now let's take a look at the back blurb to read here. You'll like this string set because all of the parts, wire, sockets, clips, plug, receptacle, and bulbs are dependable General Electric products manufactured and assembled in the United States. The stronger spring steel clips grip both large and small branches tightly, hold their original shape indefinitely. A hole in each clip permits set to be used as a festoon or to be hung by nails or hooks. The green color of the single wire, the sockets, plug, and receptacle blends with green tree foliage for almost complete concealment. The rugged, practically unbreakable sockets are sealed at the bottom and made of fire-resistant plastic for your safety. Sockets are spaced 15 inches apart to permit decorating without bending branches or suspending bulbs in midair. The entire string set is exactly 20 feet long, yet socket for socket it weighs 20% less than other string sets. Since lamps screw in easily, fit snugly, and securely in sockets, there's no need for washers. Do not use any 120 volt electric light sets on aluminum trees, which were a thing in the 60s. This General Electric string set is listed by Underwriters Laboratories Inc. So yeah, that's why I was able to replace my 20 lamp Noma Heritage set with this 15 lamp string, is because the bulbs are spaced a bit wider apart. So the string itself is still 20 feet long. How many lamps should you use? So this was the formula I was talking about in the prior video. To find the maximum number of lamps to use, multiply the height of the tree by its width, then multiply by 3. 1/2 of this amount would be the minimum number. Height in feet times width in feet times 3 equals the number of lamps. Never put more than 1800 watts on one 15 amp circuit. Multiply the number of C7.5 lamps by 7 to get your wattage. And don't forget to make allowances for the power that may be used by other electric equipment on this circuit too. So yeah, the earlier C7 lamps, they were 7 watts, not 5 watts. So all these General Electric bulbs, they're actually 7 watts. But they're not any brighter than newer 5 watt solid color bulbs because these have a very thick, very durable ceramic color coating. So TLDR, these bulbs get extremely hot. 7 watts, and a lot of that light is converted into heat by the color coating. These particular GE bulbs, even though they're beautiful, the colors are beautiful, really good quality color coding, these get incredibly hot compared to other C7 bulbs, so note that. Miniature lamp department, General Electric, Nella Park, Cleveland, Ohio. Very, very cool. Let's open it up here. So obviously I fit this set with other bulbs. I want to preserve the name brand bulbs as much as possible, so this has got random bulbs in there, except for a lone blue GE bulb over there, which we'll take a look at. And of course I brought over my 3 flashing bulbs. So there are your ceramic coated bulbs. These are so pretty. And the quality of the color is second to none. Really thick coating, so it's really durable. You very rarely see these particular GE bulbs chipped or faded. It's a really thick, durable coating. And again, these get very, very hot. And they're 7 watts too, instead of 5. They all have the GE logo on them, which I love. Very cool. So that's a 1960s vintage 15 light set from General Electric, now strung across my entire apartment. The sockets are indeed quite slim, and you can see they got the GE logo on there, very nice. It's a very nice quality feeling set. And here's a look at one of these vintage GE ceramic coated bulbs. The blues are particularly pretty. They're different than modern blue C7 bulbs. There's the GE logo. And kind of interesting about this bulb, the color coding is actually a little bit thin. And if you look right down the end, you can actually see the shape of the filament there. It's got like 2 right angles in it. Here's what the other colors look like. There's green. There's the yellow, and I call it yellow because when the set's off, the bulb is a much lighter color than standard orange bulbs that you see today. But when it's lit, it actually is more of an orange than a yellow. It's not too different from modern orange bulbs. And then there's what a red looks like, and the red is extremely saturated. It almost looks pink on my video here, but there's a modern red, and there's the GE red. So very, very pretty bulbs, all of them. Here's a 15 light set, mid-century, and the reason it has no bulbs in it, I bought this on eBay. The reason it has no bulbs in it is because I bought the set on eBay, it came with bulbs. When the set arrived, I plugged it in, and most of the sockets had an intermittent connection. And that's when I learned that the sockets in this set, and indeed many Christmas light sets are like this, are basically press fit into the wires. The sockets under this cap here have little metal spikes that when the socket is installed drive through the wire insulation and into the wire, and that's how it makes contact. And then there's this just this little band here that secures it in place. And on this set, all but 2 sockets had a poor connection. And I thought, oh my god, you know, this is horrible. This almost seems dangerous. And that was before I learned that most C7 and C9 sets, even modern ones that you can buy today, they're manufactured in this manner, using little spikes to drive into the wire to provide power to the socket. So I removed all the bulbs from the socket and just put it away. I actually planned to just, you know, call it a loss and just use it for the wire, just use it for scrap wire for random projects, because it's like, I'm not going to use this set. I don't feel safe using a set with most of the sockets having an electrical connection issue. But then I found something that gave me an idea. The website christmaslightsource.com, where I've bought a couple of things from, they sell replacement C7 or C9 lamp sockets. And you can install them yourself with no special tools necessary. And they install using the same concept of the little spikes driving into the wire insulation. Now the sockets they sell, they advertise as being specifically for replacing sockets on their own light strings that they sell on the website. But they're standard Admiral brand sockets that even new light strings you buy today, they use Admiral brand sockets, at least the ones that I've seen. So it's a standard part, and it should work on any light string with the right gauge wire. And the sockets are only 11 cents each, so I decided to give it a shot. I bought a bunch of spare sockets, and that's what you now see on this string. So here is one of the 2 original sockets left, the only ones that didn't have a connection issue, and these are potentially Bakelite sockets, which is cool. And here's one of the new sockets that I put in. You can see Admiral there. Here's the AD logo. You'll find this on the bottom of the sockets on new sets like my Noma Heritage sets. Very good quality sockets, extremely durable. How do I know this? Because I have about a 90% success rate in installing these new sockets. The other 10% of the time, I'll test the socket and it'll just have no connection. I don't know why. I don't know what I did wrong installing the socket, or if it's just up to luck. But then I have to remove the socket and try again with a new socket. And once you've installed these are almost impossible to remove. You have to just mangle the socket to get it off the cord. And that's really good. So if you install these sockets properly, they're not going to go anywhere. So that's really nice. So I replaced 13 of the 15 sockets on this string. A few of them I had to try a second time because the first time I did it, the socket ended up with no connection. And I have one socket on this still that's not getting a connection, so I actually had to purchase more sockets. I'm waiting for them to come in the mail. And once that comes in and I replace the socket that I didn't install correctly on this will be a restored mid-century C7 set. That's pretty cool. I was going to call this junk. I'm sure most people would call this junk because of all the sockets that didn't have a proper connection, but with a little bit of time and elbow grease, you can install new sockets, keep the original wiring, keep the original look. You can order sockets in black and green, so of course I got the black ones because they're the closest match to the original. And yeah, it's a nice way to restore one of these vintage light sockets and certainly make it safer too. So that's excellent. This thing won't have to be junk. Once I replace that last socket, it'll be a perfectly usable light set. The plugs on this one, I have not replaced. I feel comfortable with them. I don't see anything particularly wrong with this plug or with this socket. They seem fine to me. Socket is branded Gilbert. Plug is branded also Gilbert. Gilbert number 12, it says. And the light sockets also say Gilbert. But anyway, mid-century, 15 light string, one socket that I need to replace. But after that, it'll have been partially restored and safe for use once again. Very cool. Now here's a set that I've actually set up in my office at work. It's a 7-light mid-century set. This was another eBay find. You can see I replaced the plug on it. The 2 wires soldered to the original plug had bare copper wire so close to being touching that I wasn't comfortable with it. I just cut off the old plug, put a new plug on, and I was more comfortable with that. But yeah, these lights have gotten a few compliments from my coworkers, which makes me really happy. I think it cheers the place up a little bit. Now, I do have one bulb. You might be able to see right there, the Bakelite socket is actually cracked. But I'm comfortable with keeping that socket because unlike a couple of my other mid-century strings, in this string, the sockets actually aren't the load-bearing part that keeps the bulb in place. Inside these Bakelite housings is an actual metal socket. The Bakelite is basically just decorative and to cover the metal socket because it's energized, of course. I show this right here. So you can see a metal socket in there. And the Bakelite is more or less just decorative. The wires are actually soldered to the socket. They're not spiked into place like the other sets I've shown. And yeah, I prefer this system much more. It seems to be more durable. But yeah, I'm fine keeping that that socket because it's not a load-bearing member of anything. If it actually falls apart, then I'll actually replace it. And here you can see I'm looking at the tag here. It says Reliance #1. I don't know if that's the brand name or what. Not sure. But there you go. Here's an unpopulated C9 set that I got at the thrift store for cheap. Modern, or at least semi-modern. It's got modern plugs and sockets on it and everything. It's got a polarized socket on the end, so it's and the plug's polarized too, so it can't be too old. The little sticker here says it was printed in Canada, so I wonder if this whole set was made in Canada. That would be cool. It's got Admiral brand sockets on it. And yeah, there's 25 sockets in the string. And they're not placed terribly far apart. They're placed 8 or 9 inches, I would say. So the whole set is maybe around 20 feet long. I have no C9 bulbs. I do have some on order from ChristmasLightSource.com. $6 for 25 bulbs, which isn't too bad. And of course, you can use any intermediate base lamps with this. You can get G50, colored G50 bulbs. Those are the globe-shaped bulbs. They're slightly bigger than the ones used in the Noma Heritage sets, which are G40. But you can get those in an intermediate base version. I think you can get G40s in an intermediate base too, but I'm not sure about that. S11 lamps. So yeah, you have a couple of different choices. This set would have been made for outdoor use. It's got quite thick wiring, not only for extra durability, but also so you can plug many sets in end to end. It says 18 AWG, so 18 gauge wire. The cord says Asia on it, so... Oh, but it is CSA approved. So yeah, there's this set. And although it's outdoor rated with quite thick cord and stuff, I might take a stab once I get the bulbs. Just for giggles, I might string this across the apartment where this set currently is. It would sure light up a lot. 25 7-watt bulbs. So... But yeah, I'll be interested. I don't even, I haven't even tested this. I'm only assuming that it's fine. So I'll be interested to see how it all looks, how it all turns out and how it looks once my bulbs come in. Against my better judgment, I did buy a second box of the Noma Heritage glass globe lights. I figure at best, I'll have a use for 2 sets someday. At worst, years down the road, I can sell the second box for a ton of money, call it rare, do the thing that eBay sellers so often do. Let's take a look at this. This is the box that the bottom set on my tree came in. Semi-modern 15 lamp set. We took a look at that in the previous video. And look at this box. I would say this is from the 70s. Indoor set, new energy saver bulbs, 5 watts, 15 lights, made by Universal Lights. And look at the font on this. This is what tips me off to it being from the 70s. New improved socket. Canadian product. Here's the address, Montreal, Canada. And see what's on the back here. Directions. Indoor use only, disconnect current when changing lamps, do not connect more than 35 similar sockets from one outlet. Lighted length, 15.5 feet, 4.7 meters, 15 lights with approximately 12 inches or 30 centimeter spacing between sockets. Says max 250 watts, do not connect together more than 33 lamps of 7.5 watts. Wait, what? It says do not connect more than 35 similar sockets from one outlet, and then here it says do not connect together more than... Okay, I'm just gonna move right along. It was CSA approved, pre-tested, and it was made in Canada. So if I didn't mention it in the prior video, this bottom set right here is made in Canada. That's really cool. Universal Electric Products Inc. Keep package for storage. It's got a lifetime guarantee. Too bad the company presumably doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, that's really neat. This is a brand new unpopulated C7 set. I bought this on ChristmasLightSource.com. This was like $6. I originally bought this to decorate the tree with, starting at the bottom, but then I got impatient and just started using the vintage sets I had acquired. Actually, I remember now, I bought this before I found the sets that I got in the thrift store. So after I got those sets, I had enough to make the tree, and now I'm not using this, but I think it would be in my best interest to make use of this. It's a totally modern set. It's got a fused socket on it, which is very good, especially for when a bulb decides to go bye-bye in a violent manner. They even give you a spare fuse. That's nice. So I figure someday I'll redo the tree, and when I do it, I'll start with this set, and then this is only 25 lights, so I'll need 1 or 2 more sets after it, and I'll just use the vintage sets that I have on hand to do that. And it's nice because they'll be protected by the fuse as well. And of course, it's got the Admiral brand sockets on it. Speaking of the tree, by the way, I forgot to mention in the first video, but I am running it on a dimmer. This is a dimmer box that I made myself. I call it the Dimmer Box 69.420. And I built this dimmer box. It's got a standard Leviton wall dimmer and then a standard wall outlet in a double gang faceplate put together in a work box from Walmart. And the reason I have the tree on a dimmer is just because if it's cranked up all the way, 45 lights on this, it is just way too darn bright. It lights up the whole place. So I use this just to tone it down a little bit, and then it's a bit more pleasing to look at. Oh yeah, and then this I have one ornament on here. I got this ornament at the Christmas party at work. All the employees got an ornament with their name on it, so I thought that was kind of cool. I figure I'll end this video with a look at all the spare bulbs I got. These are modern red bulbs, boring. These are modern red bulbs, boring. These are modern orange bulbs, boring. They're not flasher bulbs, they're just in that box. Most of these are modern. There's a couple of older ones there, but they're nothing worth looking at, boring. This pack, oh, well, actually, you know what's worth looking at? The package. The package is from Arlen's department stores, and it was 44 cents. Parallel type candelabra base, 120 volt. Distributed by Arlen's department stores. The bulbs were made in Japan. So that's kind of neat. I don't know when this would have been. 60s, 70s vintage. Probably the former at 44 cents. And this package I don't think has any, well, it's got a couple of older bulbs in it, but not a, well, actually, this looks like it could be a GE bulb. This is a GE bulb. It's just from a later era after GE stopped printing their logo on the bulbs. And this is a old package. This was Kmart. Looks like 88 cents, and then it was marked down to 63 cents. Pre-tested, guaranteed delight, manufactured in Korea. The original bulbs in this. Ceramic lamps with Christmas lamps with ceramic glazed colors. Oh. Apparently there was a Korean manufacturer that was doing a ceramic coating, or so they claim. This package is significant. Not the original bulbs in it, but the bulbs that are in it now are GE bulbs. And a couple of them have the even larger logo on them. I'm not sure if that makes them earlier or later. And the package is vintage too, 69 cents, and then marked down to 59 cents. Bulbs were made in Taiwan. This is full of just modern bulbs. Although notable, there is one yellow bulb here. This was in a pack that I bought at Canadian Tire. So you can get yellow and orange bulbs if you want, which is kind of neat. It's funny, there's stickers all over this box, placed there by the manufacturer covering stuff. I don't know what's under them. I know I'm going to rip the box because I tried to pull one sticker off and I just ripped the box. So I don't know what's under them, but I can see under this one a number 4 at the end. So this sticker that says 4-pack C7.5 is probably covering a print that says 4-pack C9.25. So whether this package was originally used for C9 lamps or if it was a misprint, that's kind of funny. Original price, 57 cents. Bulbs were made in Indonesia in this case. And then finally, and most significant, a pack of GE bulbs. 65 cents. These are probably from the 60s or 70s. The bulbs, some of the bulbs have white paint splatter on them. Or actually they all did, but I wiped a couple off and it came off just fine without hurting the color coding. So yeah, that's very cool. Ceramic coatings will not fade, chip, peel, or blister. Can be used outdoors in weatherproof equipment. Fit all candelabra screw socket sets. Pre-tested to light, no need to test them. When one lamp eventually goes out, others remain lighted. And of course made in the USA. Very cool, vintage pack of vintage bulbs. Well, it's a week later since I last touched this video, and my C9 bulbs arrived. So I stuck them in this cord that I got from the thrift store, and cord works fine, and all the light bulbs work fine, and they're very pretty. So these are Chinese, these are brand new Chinese made C9 lamps. They're 7 watts each, intermediate base, and they're very nice. The color quality is perfect, and yeah, they're excellent. And as you can see, very big. I forgot how large C9 lamps are. For comparison, here's a C9 and here's a C7 next to it. So C9s are generally limited to outdoor use just because of their size, although there's certainly nothing restricting you from using them indoors. A 7 watt C9, 7 watt is the standard wattage. 7 watt C9 I don't think would get any hotter than a 5 watt C7, and these are definitely not going to get as hot as the 7 watt C7 like the old GE ceramic coated bulbs that get super hot. These aren't going to get nearly as hot. Where this set has larger bulbs, I thought of stringing this set across the apartment just because the C7s I think look too Spartan. 15 C7s strung across the apartment. I thought it looked a bit too Spartan. So I thought I'd try this, but this set is too long. If I strung it across the apartment, it would keep going. I'd have to keep stringing it across the cupboards, and I didn't want to do that. Plus 25 7 watt lamps, that's 175 watts, which is a lot of power. So I've decided not to do that, so I won't be putting this set up anywhere, but I will keep it because there may be use for this in the future. Maybe in the future Bridget will want this to be set up at her house, or outside her house maybe. She's got a chain link fence outside of her house, so these would look good against that. So yeah, I'll keep this set around, but it won't be going into use right now. And yeah, the bulbs, I can hold my hand on them for a couple of seconds, so they don't get too terribly hot. But yeah, very nice. $6 for 25 bulbs. You can't really beat that. And of course, alongside the order of C9 bulbs, I got these candelabra-based sockets, 25 of them, for 11 cents each. Can't beat that. And I finished refurbishing this mid-century string. I hung it up here now. I took down the GE string. yeah, finished the mid-century string that had most of the sockets. We had a poor connection. So it's all done, it's working beautifully, and I've decided to hang it up here. I kind of like the old-fashioned twin lead wiring. I quite like how it looks, and as you can see, I populated it with bulbs from my Noma Heritage G40 globe set. As I said, C7s just look too small, too Spartan in a long, large installation like this. The G40 bulbs fit it much nicer just because they're larger, and it makes it look less Spartan. And there's only 15 bulbs, so it only uses 75 watts of power. Oh, actually, that's a lie. There are 16 bulbs. I accidentally installed a 16th socket. Well, it wasn't totally an accident. There was just the sockets were for the most part uniformly spaced, except for two that were spaced really far apart. I mistook that for being a space where one of the original sockets was, but it wasn't. It was just the way the string was manufactured. They were just two sockets really far apart, making it look like there was supposed to be a socket in between them. So I installed a socket there, and then I realized that I already had 15 sockets installed. So now this string, originally 15 sockets, now it has 16, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, 16 lights, and I think it looks quite nice. I'll turn the light out here, and there you can see, turn this light out. I think that looks very nice. It's not as crowded as the 20 light G40 string. I think 15 works a bit better. 15 G40 bulbs seems to be the right density. Gives it the right aesthetic that I'm looking for. And of course I have my usual 3 C7 twinkling bulbs. They'll remain here until they burn out, and then I'll replace them with G40 bulbs. Here's what the replacement sockets look like. They come in 2 parts, 2 pieces. You lay the cord that the socket will be installed on across this piece. And then you take this piece, you line it up, you have the small gap towards the hook clip thing. And you put it down and you take the palm of your hand and push super hard, it kind of hurts. And the metal spikes right here, they pierce the insulation of the wire. And it's installed, and after that you just take something like a pair of vice grips or a C-clamp and just clamp it down, not too hard, just to secure it and make sure it's fully installed. Although in my experience, it's so hard just to do the first part with the palm of your hand that once it's in, I don't think it'll ever go anywhere. And I have all these extra sockets, obviously. I've got another 23 of them in here, I think. And I've decided I may use these in the future to build my own light strings. If I can find an extension cord of the right gauge wire to use as my cord, which I'm not sure if I can. Extension cord, modern extension cords, for safety reasons, they're a bit thicker than Christmas light strings. But what I envision doing is replacing these 7 light strings with my own homemade 5 light strings. I think 5 lights in these doorways would look a bit better, a bit less crowded. The other thing is, of course, I would make it really short so there's not all of this slack wire that I have to deal with. And it's even worse over here. This is harder to deal with, this more modern wiring. But yeah, the sockets I got are meant to fit on cord that's this thick, whereas a modern extension cord is this thick. It's a lot thicker. Now, the company that I bought these sockets from, ChristmasLightSource.com, they sell 2 variants. This is the standard variant, meant to fit on standard Christmas light cord. But then they also make a second variant. This variant's called SPT1 on their website. They also make an SPT2 variant, which is meant for the thicker outdoor rated cord, like this. This is the same thickness as a modern extension cord. So if I got SPT2 replacement sockets, then I could make my own light strings out of modern extension cords. But at 11 cents each per socket, which is fine, and then having to pay like 15 bucks for shipping, it's not worth it for me to do that. So maybe I'll find an extension cord of the right gauge that I can cannibalize. If not, then I'll just live with what I've got. Although another alternative would be to take this brand new string that I bought and realized I didn't need to buy. I could hack up this string, just hack off a couple of pieces with 5 sockets each. It's already got the sockets on it. And just buy some plugs and sockets to terminate the ends with. And I have my own 5 light string, so I could do that too, so this string doesn't go to waste. So there's a lot of possibilities. And that finally concludes the saga of my procurement and installation of vintage Christmas lights here in my apartment. TLDR, I bought way too many sets of lights. I went really overboard, but I got some really cool sets and some really cool vintage bulbs in the process. I learned how to refurbish light strings that have sockets or plugs that are not in good shape anymore. So that's great. I love being able to fix old stuff and make it usable and safe again. I learned that once in a great while you can have a C7 bulb explode. And yeah, I've just made my apartment super pretty. Probably all of this is gonna stay up after Christmas, just because I think it just cheers the place right up. The exception will be in the summertime when it gets hot in here. I will not be running any of these because they put off a lot of heat. So like I said, I've got like the better part of 425 watts of incandescent lighting here. Although a bit less because that tree's on a dimmer, so maybe 350, 375 watts. Still a lot of power, and so these definitely won't be run when it gets warm again. But there you go. I hope you guys found all this interesting. I may be selling some of the sets that I got. I've already got a lot of translucent colored C7 bulbs on eBay, my eBay page, The Maritime Girl. I've got a great big lot of bulbs on there. I may decide to sell that GE string only because I think I might be able to get a bit of coin for it, but I could be totally wrong. But yeah, watch that page if you're interested in anything that I might be listing in the future. And there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas or whatever other holiday you celebrate. I'll see you guys later.